Hello, welcome to Influencers. Today we're honored to have our newest Attorney General, Aaron Ford. Man, it's great to see you.
Good to see you.
I really do mean that.
Thanks for having me
I
out,
do.
man. Thanks for having me.
It's important that you're here, and so quickly, I'm grateful.
Well, absolutely. My pleasure to be here.
Tell us about yourself. How did you get to Nevada? How did it begin?
Yeah. Well, I'm originally I'm not from Nevada. Like I said, I got here as fast as I could. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I actually followed my wife out here to Las Vegas. She got a job with a federal judge on the Ninth Circuit, I like to say, at the turn of the century in the year 2000. So I followed her out here. I was in my last year of my law school program and my PhD program, and so I visited my last year at UNLV while my wife started her law clerk job right down the street here at the federal courthouse. And we were here for a few years, moved back to Dallas in '04, and I followed my wife back out here again in 2007 when she got a different job with a law firm. And so I've been back out this time since 2007.
Is it home now?
It's home. I didn't want to leave in the first place, but, good to be back.
Who's had the greatest influence on you, both, personal and maybe in your career?
Honestly, it's not one person. It's the entirety of my family. When I was a kid, my parents, they divorced when I was young. I got a stepfather in the picture, so my parents, my grandparents, they were always supportive of trying to move us out of what I've always said were tough times into Texas A&M University and having an opportunity to move beyond in my education. But most recently, it's been my immediate family, my wife and my 3 sons and my nephew that my wife and I raised. They've always been my motivation. They're my backbone. They're the ones who push me up when I'm ready to sit down, and they inspire me every day.
That's beautiful. What about the journey to become Attorney General? I mean, has it sunk in yet?
Oh, it's sunk in.
I was at the inaugural and I saw your face, and there was a moment there where you didn't have to say nothing, and it got a lot of us choked up. We saw it.
Yeah. I got chills right now thinking about it. It's, I feel very good, very fortunate to be in the position to be able to help all of Nevada through this position as Attorney General. It was a journey, as you might imagine, to get here. People don't give you anything; they make you earn it, and it was a tough campaign. A lot of personal things came out during the campaign cycle, and what people don't understand is that it doesn't just necessarily hurt the candidate; it hurts the family of the candidate. And so dealing with that, understanding again that my motivation was being hurt through this scenario was very painful, but they again were my backbone. The journey was a tough one, but we're here. We've hit the ground running. I've been on the job. This is the end of my 2nd week. We've already made progress in defending civil rights for women and looking into ways that we can get the background check initiative enforced. And we are ready to work. Our job is justice.
If I may, I want to stay on that theme for a second. You said something very important. You took a lot of hits because of some past things when you were. None of us think the same when we're 16, 19. I like to believe I grow each and every day,
right.
Our mentality. So you took a lot of hits, and apparently it hurt, and your family too, but you know what you did? There are some young African-American boys out there, and Hispanic, that now say, you know what? They might be in their 30s or 40s, and they might not have thought about taking a risk because maybe they did something when they were real young and in college, and now they're going to have the courage to do it because you took some hits for them now.
Well,
so I know that might not make you feel a whole lot better, but it's reality.
No, I appreciate that, and it's a message for everybody. It's not about falling down; it's about getting up.
It really is, and
working forward.
And those things you went through made you who you are today.
Absolutely.
We'll be back with our Attorney General with an honest conversation. Aaron Ford, thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Influencers with Aaron Ford, our Attorney General. Tell us what the AG's office does that people might not know yet. And I mean, you're just getting your feet in there.
Yeah. The AG's office does a lot, obviously. Most folks think that the main job of the Attorney General is putting people in jail, and that is a job. But what most folks don't realize is that 90% of the job, frankly, is what we call civil law, where we represent the agencies of the various agencies of our state, where we help give advice to the boards and commissions that meet. But one thing that I'm very proud of that we do in the Office of the Attorney General is that we defend your civil rights. We ensure that you're treated fairly, and that the system is fair and impartial. So, as an example, whether you are applying for a license through one of our occupational licensing boards, we have DAGs there, Deputy Attorneys General, who are advising the board to ensure, for example, that there are no unfair treatments based on race or sex or whatever the case may be. When we are working within the criminal justice system under my administration, we're going to ensure that we have fair and constitutional interactions with people. And even those who've been incarcerated, we're going to be ensuring that the constitutional rights of those individuals are also protected. To be sure, they're going to get punished, and they're supposed to be punished, but a word I've heard you use in the past is dignity. People retain their dignity, and we should be able to, in the Attorney General's office, help restore some trust, or at least augment trust between what we do and the community.
Dignity, I say it often because it's the cure to cancer. The cancer that is in society.
Yeah.
When you have dignity and you feel a little better about yourself,
Absolutely.
You treat others better.
That's right.
It's just the reality.
I agree. I agree.
Do you think there's equal justice for minorities in the system, or do we got a long way to go?
We have a long way to go. I mean, to be sure, we are striving. We are making strides. And you can see, even in the current presidential administration, where some may agree or disagree with the current president, that administration has been able to come together with Congress on a bipartisan level to move forward what they call the First Step Act, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
Criminal justice reform, where we are.
I don't like to give them too much credit, but on that one, it blew my mind because that is a step forward.
Absolutely.
You got to say it.
You know, and one of the things that it looked at was the fact that predominantly black and brown individuals who were utilizing crack cocaine were being disproportionately sentenced to non-black and brown students, people who were using powder cocaine. And so fixing those types of remedies is an effort, fixing those types of deficiencies is an effort toward a remedy to make our justice system fair.
I agree with that. How much of your own personal journey that you've gone through goes into your thought process as Attorney General now?
All of it.
All of it.
And honestly, I think it's not entirely believable when people say that they leave their background at the door. The truth of the matter is who I am, what I experienced. We talked about it a minute ago as a young child, growing up in tough neighborhoods and trying to grow into a young man. Those experiences inform who I am, and it helps me to look at issues from a different point of view. I was talking to a group of individuals on the law enforcement side of things yesterday, and you see I wear this pin here because I'm part of law enforcement now.
That's right.
I'm the top law enforcement officer in the state. I'm the top legal advisor in the state, and so I know what side I'm on in that regard, but I bring a different perspective to this type of analysis, and I think it's important that we have people who've had varying backgrounds engaged in this process. So my background is very integral to how I'm going to act as Attorney General.
I think that's honest and powerful. We'll be back with Influence in one moment. Hello, welcome back to Influencers, where today we have the Attorney General of the state of Nevada, Aaron Ford. Tell us what your priorities are in your role as Attorney General.
You know, I've shared the priorities in what I call my 3 C's. These are the umbrella items, but there are several others as well that I'll be working on. But the first C is consumer protection. One of the jobs of the Attorney General is to ensure that people like you and me and our family members, our consumers, aren't, scammed.
That's right.
That businesses are treating us right.
By the way, that's near and dear to my heart because in the Hispanic community,
absolutely,
predators.
Absolutely. And so understanding that is one of the reasons why that first C is consumer protection. The second C, as I've talked about a minute ago, is protecting our constitutional and our civil rights. And so ensuring that the things that our government is doing, whether it's the state government or the federal government or local governments, are not infringing upon our rights to be, for example, free from unreasonable searches and seizures, or that we are not treated unfairly because of the way we look or who we love, those types of things. And then the third C is criminal justice reform, both criminal justice and reform, and ensuring that, again, we have a system that is fair, that punishes those who are wrongdoers, but but is a fair arbiter, if you will, of all who come before it. I have some other priorities as well, dealing with sexual harassment, sex trafficking and things of that sort, as well as mental health and substance abuse issues, and ways we can use the criminal courts to help rectify some of those, diversion courts rather, as opposed to criminal courts, to rectify some of those issues.
That's excellent. Are you happy with what you're seeing in diversity in political offices? I think we're starting to, I was at the Governor's State of the State, and I looked around the room, and we're getting there.
Look at where we are, man. This is something that's, understand this. Now, we were able to hear our governor talk about the first female majority legislature in the history of our nation.
Yes.
That's fantastic. But don't let it be lost on anyone that we also have 2 African-American men running both branches of the legislature.
That's right.
That was the case last go around. You also have in me, although I'm not bragging about it, I'm the first African-American male, African-American generally, to be elected to a statewide constitutional office.
You should brag about it, because there's other people watching. We always must remember there's young people watching.
That's right. That's right. Then you have a majority female Supreme Court as well.
It's amazing.
The 3 large cities in our state, Las Vegas, Henderson, and Reno, the women, the mayors are women. And so we have diversity in this state that we should be proud of, that we should continue also, however, to augment.
How historical is the moment for you and your family?
It hits me ever so often. I do recognize that I'm the first African American to be elected to a statewide constitutional office. And we can't forget about Justice Michael Douglas, who was the first African American elected to the Supreme Court in that regard.
Good man.
Absolutely, very good mentor to me. But I view this as an opportunity to show not just African American young men, particularly, what they can aspire to, but all of us. Right? Because again, our backgrounds shouldn't always, determine our ultimate outcomes.
That's
and,
right.
And I've been able to go through times in life that were very difficult, when I became a single parent in college and almost dropped out of college, went from almost having 0 degrees to having 5 degrees, and now here I am as a top law enforcement officer in the state. So that my life, I hope, speaks to some out there who are looking at this as an opportunity to learn.
Oh, it will. We will be back with our last segment with our Attorney General, Aaron Ford, in a moment. Hello, welcome back to Influencers. Aaron, tell us how the Hispanic community can be heard, have their voices heard.
Bueno, lo que pasa es que yo creo que hay muchísimas oportunidades para nosotros a trabajar juntos. Y piensa con conversaciones como así.
Claro, como hoy mismo estamos empezando.
Exactamente. Y entonces si hay preguntas o problemas que la comunidad latina quiere compartir conmigo, nada más me tiene que llamar por teléfono o mandarme un email.
Tus puertas están abiertas.
Exactamente.
That was good.
Your
doors are open.
It was a try.
Your doors are open, and that was good Spanish. Do you feel good about your relationship with the Hispanic community?
I do. I mean, I've always had, I believe, a great relationship with the Latino community. I've been speaking Spanish since I was 14 years old. Took it in high school, took it in college, studied abroad in Mexico. My best friend is Mexican from Cuautitlán Izcalli down in the DF. And so I've always endeavored to have a great relationship with the Latino community, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and I need the audience to know that maybe less than a week after you won your election, we reached out. You reached out first, too, and I thought that was incredibly sincere, that you reached out and said, you know what, the Hispanic community needs us to work.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was fantastic. And I know we text a lot, and I text you. And so I want my community to know that your doors are open and that you sincerely mean that. I feel very strongly about it, especially because of the predators in the Hispanic and minority communities.
Right.
We need to put an end to that. So how closely will you be working with our new governor?
Very closely. We began our tenures his first piece of work was to sign an executive order appointing me as chair of a sexual harassment task force.
That's right.
I was standing right beside him when he signed the order. Before we took office, we had already corresponded about the fact that I was going to sign our state onto what we call an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, to protect the constitutional right women have relative to contraception. And so we're going to have those kind of communications on a going forward basis. Looking forward to working with him. We are of the same mindset on where the state needs to go.
And I know it's probably too soon, but what's the future? How far out do you think?
I don't know if I can answer that, unequivocally, right? But the truth of the matter is sometimes I'm thinking about 15 years on the road because I'm looking forward to my kids being out of college and I ain't got to pay their bills, right?
That's right.
Right now I'm just looking at, this tenure that I have as an opportunity to be the top law enforcement officer, the top legal advisor in this state, to do the best job I can in there. Obviously I have 4 years in this particular term, and we're going to do the best that we can to represent well.
How much does your family matter to you?
Oh, gosh. It's the most important thing to me. As I've indicated, they're my backbone. When we were going through this journey together to be elected, they were the ones who had my back. I knew where I could go to get solace and to get reprieve from what was a very difficult time period during the last, 13 months of my life. And so I love my family. My wife is the matriarch in our house, and we have 3 sons and a nephew. And if it weren't for them, I'm not sure what I'd be doing right now.
That's beautiful. That's inspiring. Well, I want to thank Attorney General Aaron Ford for being here. You heard it. His doors are open. He wants to help our community. We need to support him, get behind him, and make sure that we're helping our state as well. Until next time, stay motivated and stay inspired.